I'm Amelia and I'm 6 years old. Hi, I'm Joshua and I'm 9 years old.
Hi everyone, this is Mommy.
What's up everyone, I'm Daddy.
And you're listening to
It's Movie Night.
And this week we watched Twisters.
Universal and Warner Brothers Studios released this disaster sequel in 2024. It's rated PG-13 and has a runtime of 2 hours and 2 minutes. Some other movie night picks the studio released around this time were Despicable Me 4 and Beetlejuice.
This movie's about a tornado chaser named Kate who, after a bad accident, left that life behind. However, after an old friend asks for her help, she makes her way back to Oklahoma to see if a new crew and technology can save lives.
Some familiar faces and voices. Kate Carter is played by Daisy Edgar Jones, who is in nothing kid-friendly, but parents may recognize her as Kaya Clark in Where the Crawdads Sing, and she also plays Noah in the Hulu original movie Fresh, which we highly recommend.
Yes, she is very good in that movie, and Sebastian Stan's awesome in that movie.
It's such an interesting role for him, but yeah, don't watch this one with your kids around.
It's fun, but yeah, no kids.
Tyler Owens is played by Glen Powell, and even if you haven't seen a movie with him in it, you know him from somewhere. He is everywhere in social media right now.
He is the it guy right now, I think.
Yes, but for kid-friendly movies, he is the long-fingered boy in Spy Kids 3 Game Over, which blew my mind.
I don't get why he's long-fingered boy, but...
Yeah, he looks normal to me.
Yeah.
But Daddy actually sent me a clip of this, and to hear his, tiny voice, because he's super young in this movie,
yeah,
it was a good time. He plays Trent in a few episodes of All Hail King Julian, which he would be a voice in. He also does the voice of Dave in the Jurassic Park Camp Cretaceous. I believe it's on Netflix show. Zosha was into this for a while. But parents, you may recognize him more as Lieutenant Jake Saracen or Hangman in Top Gun Maverick, and he also plays Ben in a romantic comedy called Anyone But You.
Love him.
Yeah, we were on the hater train at first, but now we're like, you know what? What a nice guy.
I would love to hang out with Glen Powell. I definitely have a crush on him.
Javi is played by Anthony Ramos. We know him the most as the voice of King Trollex in Trolls World Tour. He is the voice of Piranha in The Bad Guys, and he plays Usnavi in the musical In the Heights. Parents, you may recognize him as John Lawrence in Hamilton, which kids could watch as well. Mm-hmm. And he also plays Noah Diaz in Transformers Rise of the Beasts. So for the most part, he's in family-friendly things.
Yeah.
Scott is played by David Cornsweet, who is going to be coming this July Clark Kent or Superman in James Gunn's Superman.
I'm excited for it.
Very excited. The girls want to see that one too. Boone is played by Brandon Perea, who isn't in much, but Daddy and I just like him. He plays a character called Angel Torres in Nope, which is... It toys a line. I mean, you could show your kids this movie, but they might have nightmares from it. It's a Jordan Peele film, but He's just a fun character.
I mostly like him because he's from Illinois as well, so just represent.
Got to share that love. And then Kathy Carter is played by Maura Tierney. She is Abby Lockhart in 189 episodes of ER, which I loved this show as a kid. Should I have been watching it as a kid? Maybe not.
Yeah.
But awesome. And then parents, you may recognize her as Audrey Reed in Liar Liar, which is a movie we definitely should have been watching at our age.
Should not have been watching.
Yeah, no.
The director of this movie is Lee Isaac Chung. He did 1 episode of The Mandalorian and 1 episode of Skeleton Crew. And then he did some odd movies or music videos, but he did a movie called Minari, which was nominated for 6 Oscars in the 2021 Oscars. This movie came out in 2020, and it's with Steven Yeun, and he plays a Korean-American family who comes to Oklahoma or something and tries to make it farming.
You know what? I do vaguely remember seeing a trailer for this.
Yes, I do. I want to watch it, but I was like, what an interesting career path that you want to do that movie that was nominated for Oscars, and then you come and do Twisters.
You know what? He does what he likes. That's okay. He was like, you know what? I'm going to make a movie this year. Why not?
Yeah. So first impressions, Mommy. This movie came out in July of 2024. Did we see this in theaters? How old were you the first time you watched it? And do you remember liking it?
We did not see this in theaters. In fact, when we saw the trailer, we were hating on it hard because of Glen Powell, because of the first Twister, which we loved as kids. Loved it as kids.
Yes, as
but
kids.
then we rewatched it more recently as adults, and we're like, man, these people are terrible.
Yeah, definitely.
Terrible people. So that put a bad taste in our mouth for when Twisters came out. So we avoided watching this movie for quite a while. And then our neighbors and friends and everybody was just like, no, it's actually really good. And we're like, all right, fine, we'll bite. So we watched it.
This came out on streaming 1 month after it came out in July, so in August.
Yeah, so I'd say I think it was, we watched it before my birthday this year. So at the time I was, 32?
Yeah.
So, and loved it. It was a surprise.
It was a surprise.
It was a pleasant surprise.
So I had brought it home to you because I'd watched it while I was taking a trip somewhere, and I was like, okay, let me just give this a try. Watched it, liked it, said, you know what, it's pretty surprising. Mommy, you got to watch this movie. And I think either the next day or within the next 2 days. So I watched it twice in 3 days, and I was like, okay, I enjoy this movie. Definitely enjoy it.
So then we decided, you know what, let's show the girls a natural disaster type movie. So this was a first watch for them.
Yes.
So I'm going to go right through these because unfortunately we did not have a title drop or anything for the cat cam. No floating cats in the tornado, which is good. It would have broke our hearts.
Or cows.
It would have broke our hearts. But let's talk about some favorite scenes. Amelia really likes when Tyler and Kate kind of start chasing together and they're testing Kate's model for the first time. And it's like, it's not quite a montage, but it's got like a more upbeat song to it. And you could tell that Kate's kind of coming back into herself and super excited about it.
She's
and
gained her confidence.
Yeah, it's just a very cutesy new friendship sort of vibe. And it's fun.
It is. And I think this scene comes with quite a few laughs that in this moment, because this is where where Tyler drives her into the tornado, and she's like, whoa, we're just going to drop off the trailer, aren't we? And he goes, all right, let's harness up.
We're just going to drop the trailer in its path, right?
I'll tell you later.
You don't have to drive into it. It's really dangerous.
Oh, that's why we have to drive into it. Can't miss from in there.
One of my favorite scenes happens right before that part, right before they drive into it. And it's just her simply getting in Tyler's truck for the first time. And she is going through everything. And it's hilarious. Like, I couldn't imagine just getting into someone new's car and doing what she's doing. But I get that it's inquisitive of her to be like, all right, what kind of equipment do you have? Like,
he's got a lot of switches and stuff.
Yeah, so she's familiarizing herself. Like, if she's getting back into the tornado biz, if you will, she's like, all right, what do you have?
Yeah, that's my radio.
What's all this for?
Wait, what are you touching back there? Stop.
Oh, all that stuff in here.
Yeah, that's a mirror.
Oh, God.
But it's hilarious because Gwen Powell says this line of,
Have you ever been in a car before?
You got a lot of gadgets.
Yeah, don't touch there's guards there for a reason.
What do these do?
That's okay.
Yeah, I like in particular when she opens up the glove box and there's a bunch of pictures of him signed that he signed, and she's just like, oh, okay. And it's hilarious because he's this YouTube star, and it's just funny. I like it.
it's wholesome.
One of the scenes that I really like, which kind of refers to Tyler being a YouTube star, is right after one of the bigger tornadoes comes through and it rips through a town. And one of the characters, Lily, offers our main character, Kate, some food. And she's like, hey, have some food. And at this point, you kind of see Tyler and his crew as being like the villain, not villains, but like they're the other team. So we're not going to root for them. They are the East Compton Clovers at this point.
They're portrayed as making money off of filming these tornadoes and these tragedies because they're constantly selling T-shirts and merch and they're live streaming. So it puts a bad taste in your mouth at first until this scene.
Yes.
Hey, here, take some food.
Oh, don't have any cash.
That's free. That's why we're always selling those T-shirts.
Oh. Well, save it. In case you run low.
Okay, well, at least take some water.
Thanks.
Yeah, see ya.
You do see one of the characters like pouring soup or something or handing out food. And I'm like, oh, man. So this is a realization for Kate as well as you, the audience, of these people aren't bad. I don't know why Storm Parr is making them out to be this bad because they're actually helping, which is nice.
Yes, and even Kate is like, you know what? No, you keep the plate. That's an extra plate for you to hand out to these people. And that's where you can definitely tell that she pivots on, you know what? Let's talk to these people a little bit more.
Yeah, and speaking of them becoming friends or just seeing each other in different lights, I really like the scene where Tyler brings Kate to the rodeo, and you get his backstory. She asks him a question along the lines of,
Why'd you start chasing?
Yes, and he talks about being a rodeo, like riding the road. I don't know what they call that sport of like.
Oh, she asks him what his first tornado was.
Okay.
And that's when he starts talking about being in the car with his aunt, and it scared him.
Yeah, so then he said something about the thrill of it. So that's why he started doing rodeo, because he got the same thrill when he was riding bulls.
He says something like, you ride your fears. You don't run from them, you ride them.
Yes.
I used to compete. Got my head stomped on by one too many bulls. Thought college might be better for my brain.
You're scared of tornadoes, but not of riding bulls?
Now, tornadoes, bulls, same thing. Fear's the reason you do it. You don't face your fears, you ride them.
So I was like, oh man, this is cool. I like, just Glen Powell, man. I want to hang out with you. You ever
This is Tyler's backstory, though, okay?
I understand, but he pulls it off. Glen Powell just got this charm. He's got this.
It's the smile.
It's the smile that gives me like Heath Ledger smile vibes. Like there's just something about that smile that I'm like, you're adorable. I love you.
This is a scene too where I like where he learns a little bit more about Kate, because he's like, oh, city girl. And she goes, you keep calling me that, but I'm from 2 hours from this place. This literally isn't my first rodeo. So then he starts calling her Sepulpa, which is the town that she's from in Oklahoma. Yeah. So it's very nice growing together, like a blossoming friendship scene.
And then this follows with a tornado that rips through this rodeo, and she saves them all in a pool.
Yes.
And I was like, okay.
It's like a drained pool at a motel.
Which is cool, because I would have never thought to go there. So now
it's still underground, though,
in a situation where I would ever be here, I guess I would say, okay, maybe a pool is a safe place to go. A drained pool is a safe place to go.
Yeah, anywhere deep in the ground for sure. In that whole scene, Kate is super heroic, but Zosha likes a different scene where Kate's like, owning it and getting that confidence back. And she just loves when Kate goes off on her own to save everybody. Like she takes Tyler's truck and almost kind of psychs him out, like, be right back, and leaves to see what she can try to do with their experiment to stop this tornado that is just wreaking havoc on this poor town that you could tell the buildings are really old. They just weren't built to survive something like this.
Yeah, there's no basements or anything and shelter for these people.
Yeah, and it's a really powerful scene. It's puts you on edge, when you're watching it. And she's like, I just really liked that part. Like, go Kate. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, girl power. Go Kate.
For sure. And then the last scene I want to mention, it goes back towards the beginning of the movie. It is the second tornado that we see. And it is the first tornado that they all go at together.
To storm chase. Yeah.
Yes. So it's Tyler and Boone, who we had already mentioned in the Familiar Faces. And they're in the front seat of this truck. And they got this he's not an author, a writer.
He said he was doing a piece on storm chasers in America or something like that.
So he's this English dude who's in the back seat and
just taking it all in.
It's his first time, and he kind of looks at Tyler and Boone like they're crazy, because they are. They're driving into the storm, and it starts hailing. And when it starts hailing,
We got golf balls, baby! Those golf balls are baseball!
it's just hilarious, because this guy in the back seat's like, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, this is it. This is how I end. And
it shows like the camaraderie that Tyler has with his crew. He looks at them all as equals, like they all have their own set job, and it's really cool.
And they're all having fun together to the point where they're like, you know what? Let's light off some fireworks into this tornado, and it's just hilarious.
Yes, that is the other part that I didn't even have in my notes here, that they light fireworks off in the tornado. Yeah, you've never seen something.
Kate's
like that.
in the car with Javi, like, what are those fireworks? And he's like, yep. like clearly he's watched their YouTube channel.
Yeah, very cool scenes. And then with some positive scenes, we have some positive parts of the film in general. And I think one of them is that it can be inspirational. We had just talked about Zosha really liking Kate just coming into her own and getting her confidence and doing this science experiment. And, unlike the first film, the characters in this movie are really highlighted. Kate wants to figure out how to tame tornadoes. And, you say those words and you're like, how the heck would somebody tame a tornado? But she has an idea. And I don't want to spill out too much truth about it. Mommy's going to get a little more into it, though. But there's nothing we can do about tornadoes starting, but she invents a way to disrupt the tornado spin or the elements that drive a tornado. And it's by disrupting that spin and movement that the tornado just stops.
Yeah, she sucks it. The idea is to take away the moisture from the tornado so it just disintegrates and stops.
Yeah.
Because without that moisture, it's got no gas, basically.
Yes.
But yeah, it's awesome because we see a character that just wants to save what's left of a town or a population. This tornado might start and cause some damage, but it doesn't have to completely level the place.
Yeah.
And that's such a noble cause. Like, she was a weather geek, if you will, as a child, and it just became a passion of hers. And that's the best way, just pure of heart reasoning behind it. She's not looking to gain anything but to help others and to be a part of something that she likes, like meteorology.
Absolutely.
Speaking of inspiration, something that I thought was cool when I was reading up about, the differences between Twister and Twisters and the movies, etc., is the first film focused on kind of deploying those tiny balls from Dorothy into the tornado so that they could get a better understanding of the DNA, if you will, of the tornado. It was accurate for the most part, except for the fact that they didn't have tiny computers to fit into small balls 30 years ago. And this is coming from the guy who was basically the weather expert for when they were filming these movies. So yeah, when they filmed Twister, this wasn't a thing, but it pretty much inspired them once we started making all of the, better tech that we have now, that is a thing. The technology from Twister is now a thing in the real world, that they can pretty much map a tornado to see, how big is it? Which goes into Twisters. As of right now, is Kate's experiment plausible? No. The guy said you would basically need like 22,000 tons of the stuff that Kate was dumping out into a tornado, which you're not just putting on a trailer behind your truck. It's a lot heavier than that. He's like, but that's saying it doesn't exist right now. It goes to show that who knows where technology is going to take us in the next 10 years. Yeah. And just something as simple as this idea in a film script could inspire us to create a technology that could potentially stop a tornado one day.
Boom, mic drop.
Isn't that wonderful?
It is.
It's cool. You got to think about it in terms of Back to the Future too. Sometimes you put things in the movie and now we got Nike airlocks and stuff like that. Or what are they called?
Nike Air Mags.
Air Mags. I was close.
We were very close.
I was very close.
I was like, she's going on to something, and then you ruined it.
And then I ruined it. That's all right. But hey, movies can and do inspire real life people.
They could. Absolutely. So some people might look at this as a positive, that might be a negative, but I see it as a big positive. The writers of this movie, they focused on these characters. They gave them backstory. We see that they have goals, and it's not just a movie about people chasing tornadoes. The first movie focuses on tornadoes, and the main characters are just awful. You look at Bill Paxton, you look at Helen Hunt's characters, and you're just like, I don't care for these people really.
They are toxic.
I want people to obviously live, but these are the people that they're choosing for us to follow. I don't really care about them. They're just mean people. Bill Paxton is just a jerk to his fiance. I don't like him at all. And why people think that movie, hold it so highly, I have no idea why. But these characters in this movie, you care about every single one of them. Javi, all the crew you don't get necessarily the backstory of all of Tyler's crew, but you get that they have a family
element to them.
And Bill Paxton, with Philip Seymour Hoffman's characters, you do see those that they have a good
They
crew.
were family. They were always going to Helen Hunt's, what was that, her aunt or her grandma's house, whatever. They were all together, but they didn't have a noble goal. They weren't handing out soup to people and different sandwiches and stuff after the town got decimated. What were you doing to give back to the community, guys?
Exactly. So some people might, I say negative or positive, because yes, we have good characters to root for. Negative because if you came to this movie because you just want to see some tornadoes mess some stuff up, then you get that, but you do get a story element here that does push out some of the runtime, which I'll get to later on as well.
Yeah, this movie has a solid script, and you're not getting like Michael Bay tornadoes. Like,
yeah.
Something else I absolutely love that they did with this script is that they did not make it a love story. They did actually film a scene with Kate and Tyler kissing, and I'm so happy that they decided to cut it. It makes this story focus more on Kate's personal victory of getting out of her grief, because I feel like if they focused too much on Tyler and her relationship, it would have ruined that with, oh, I'm just okay now because I met someone else. And now I feel better because I'm basically replacing Jeb. And I feel like it would send that vibe way more. Like, don't get me wrong, you could tell they're planting the seeds that they're starting off as good friends with something in common, and it'll more than likely blossom into a relationship. But I'm happy that they didn't just, put the pedal to the metal and skip to that part.
Absolutely. When I first watched this without you, I'm big on, like, don't force relationships and don't force kissing. Like, I don't even want to get into Star Wars was it The Force Awakens? No, it wasn't The Force Awakens. It was The Rise of Skywalker. That kiss. So dumb.
Guys, we'll be here for 45 minutes, so we're just going to skip past that.
But with Tyler and Kate, and it gets to that final scene of the movie, like, it's only slight spoiler, but it gets to that final scene of the movie, and they don't kiss, and I was, like, wooing when I was like, yes,
good for you guys.
Thanks for pushing past it, because it wasn't necessary. Like you had said, we focus on Kate, and that's important, and I love that they did not do it. Hats off to you guys, writers.
As for the messages of Twisters, sometimes terrible things are going to happen in life, and there is absolutely nothing that we could have done to stop it or know that it was coming in the first place. But guilt is a powerful thing, and we need to remember that there's only so much that we can control. Don't let that guilt or fear control your life and prevent you from doing things you really love. Also, be open to help. Javi reaches out to Kate to get her back into her old self and, try to reconnect. He clearly was suffering too. And she was reluctant at first. At first, she completely blows him off. But then, she gets down to Oklahoma. Tyler comes into the picture and again helps her realize that her and her friends never stood a chance against that storm. It wasn't her fault, and it's time to go back to your life. Let people help you through problems. It's amazing what just one conversation can do.
Great message. I love it. Now, some negatives of this movie. The science jargon is real in this. There is a lot that I wasn't comprehending, so this is definitely going to play into my my age recommendation. But they talk about tornado caps, tornado categories, which is the only part in the movie that I paused because it was very early on, and I said to the girls, hey, F1s, F2s, F3s, you're going to hear these numbers, and the bigger the number, the worse that it is. So when you hear F1s, we had used something that came from our personally, because a few weeks ago or a month ago, we had an F0 come through our town.
Which was basically just strong wind.
Yes, but it was a good reference for them to know, because when they said, oh, F0, they were familiar. F1, okay, this is when it gets worse. So that was something that was really cool to teach them. But beyond that, they talk about dew points, wind shear, updraft, increase in cold pools. I'm like, I have no idea what any of this means. And they do try to slow some of it down and break it down. Like in the beginning of the movie, when Kate's explaining her experiment, she talks about how they use this polymer, whatever the heck it is. And they talk about how it's the stuff that they use in diapers. I was like, oh, cool.
Our experiment is designed to decrease the moisture inside of a tornado to see if we can make it collapse.
Tell the folks how you do that, Kate.
Well, first we gotta find a tornado to suck up our super absorbent polymers in these barrels.
Diapers. Tell them it's the same stuff they use in diapers.
Oh yeah.
It's non-toxic.
And now I know what you're talking about. They brought this down to my level of intelligence. So yes, there are some big words in this movie.
Yes, and they do this again when they're explaining things to Ben as well, when he's writing for his story.
Yeah.
Like, because they start, jumping the gun and talking to each other really quick. And then they turn towards him and go, oh, right, Ben is here. Let's explain this to him.
Yeah, and I will have a clip of the movie that I'm talking about as well right here.
Actually, you made a good call earlier. The other cell, it looks stronger, but cap never broke.
What's the cap?
It's temperature inversion in the mid part of the lower atmosphere. It inhibits a storm from forming.
Right. Okay. Good.
So the silver iodide converts the moisture into rain, and then the sodium polyacrylate, we need a lot of it, would pull the water from the storm, increasing the cold pool.
No faster way to choke a tornado.
Something I didn't like is that it is extremely predictable. I did not doubt for a single second that Kate wasn't going to get back to normal, that she was not going to become friends with Tyler, or that she was going to go back home to Sepulpa. Like, I saw all of these things coming, but I will say with it, was it still pleasing to watch? Sure.
I was entertained,
but I knew where it was going.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a downside. Like, yeah, the writers did a good job with these characters, but I think that there should have been some loss.
A twist
somewhere.
For twisters?
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, there should have been some more
twists.
Unpredictable. Yes. Get it out of your system.
Listen, you got to use it while you can.
Yeah.
There's no other movie that this is going to work with other than Twister.
Yeah, and I don't really want to watch that one.
No.
And my last negative that I have is that it's kind of long. I had mentioned this earlier. I think that most of the scenes are necessary, so it's kind of hard to pinpoint what I would have taken out to shorten up the movie. But yeah, it's long. And I'll note that we did start this kind of late, kind of like The Blind Side, but Amelia did stay up the entire time. So,
oh yeah, both girls stayed awake and were interested till the end.
Yeah, so I would say that will speak what do they call it? Speak words.
Volumes.
Yeah, speak volumes. That's it. Yes. Twists.
It'll speak twists.
Yes. And then what other negatives or positives do we have with parental guidance, Mommy?
So language is mild for us, but it might be moderate to other parents. They are chasing tornadoes and seeing things get demolished. So yeah, just about every swear word is sprinkled throughout in shock and surprise, if you will. But there are no F-bombs. Violence? Absolutely, but it's all natural disaster violence. There is nothing human on human in this film. Right off the bat, we see Kate's college squad encounter that EF5 tornado, and it causes people to be swept away and perish. Kate gets a really deep cut on her leg from just debris flying around at crazy high wind speeds, and it's just intense. Later on, we see similar violence with a couple in a vehicle being swept up and taken away by an approaching tornado.
Ooh, pause right there. That boy who does get swept away in that tornado is Bill Paxton's son.
I mean, he's a man in that, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's Bill Paxton's son.
But yeah, the man in that couple, in that relationship.
He's a young man. He's a boy.
Yeah, okay.
Is he not a boy?
I guess. All right. The way he was acting towards that motel manager, he sure was a boy.
Yeah.
Rude. But during this time, anyway, Kate is out in that outdoor empty pool like we talked about with a few others just hanging on for dear life until the storm passes and the buildings are destroyed in multiple scenes.
Yeah.
So that obviously is violent. Scary? Every single one of these storms can be scary. I mean, I could not imagine having my house ripped off the top of me while I'm hanging on in our basement. Like, it's terrifying stuff. An industrial plant explodes during one scene and starts this huge fire. It's all just anxious, suspenseful fear while these characters fight for their safety and the safety of others. One of the scenes where Kate takes off into the storm to try to stop it with her experiment, I said it earlier, you're on edge the whole time as the scene cuts back and forth between the movie theater being ripped apart with most of our main cast in it, and then Kate being bounced around in this vehicle. Like, it's a lot.
It could be, yeah.
Grown-up stuff, we do see some characters drinking alcohol, but it's super mild. They're all just hanging out in the motel parking lot after a day's work of chasing.
No one's getting wasted or anything like that.
No. There is one kiss at the beginning of the movie that's very PG. Otherwise, I think it's all just the personal struggles and guilt that Kate is facing that makes it grown up. It'll be hard for kids to relate to, but at the same time, they do make it easy to understand why Kate lost her passion after watching that opening scene and seeing what happens to her friends. So even though they may not have experienced grief on that level, they can understand, how A led to B.
They saw it.
Yes.
They saw why she's sad.
And with sadness, that brings us to cry factor, which I don't think there's a cry factor, but I will say if a person has ever experienced this kind of devastation in their town, it might bring back some painful memories enough to make them cry.
For sure. As for an age recommendation, you know your kids better than we do. We're just here to give our opinions. This movie has its fair share of injuries, people screaming as they're lifted into the air to meet their demise, and some intense destruction of towns, buildings, and houses. For that, I'm going to give an age recommendation of 6 and up. However, something most adults will have to take into consideration is your geography. We live in the Midwest, not necessarily Tornado Alley, but they come through here from time to time. We've heard tornado sirens go off in our town before, but I bring this up because if you're on a coast or somewhere tornadoes aren't known to pass through, then your littles might be ignorant to the things like tornadoes, sort of like I am to floods. That's not something I worry about. So it can be really scary to me, but at the same time, I just don't worry about it. So they might look at it as, oh, tornadoes, I don't got to worry about that. But if they were ever to encounter something like that, they might be super scared. Kind of like hurricanes, too. I don't worry about hurricanes, but
our friends have had to evacuate their home and go up into the mainland because of it. So it's like, it's scary stuff.
Yes, it can be very scary or just, ignorant. We just ignorant to the fact of it. But yeah, I would still say 6 and up. Just know your geography.
Yeah.
So Rotten Tomato critics have this movie certified fresh at 75%, which is a thumbs up. Audiences have it higher at a 90%, which is definitely a thumbs up. Let's see how it holds up in our house. Zosha, do you give Twisters a thumbs up, a thumbs middle, or a thumbs down?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Why a thumbs up?
I really like Kate and her story.
Yes, you liked her because she was very independent.
She's a good female character, that's for sure.
Yes, Amelia.
Thumbs middle.
A thumbs middle. Why a thumbs middle?
I like all the acting and stuff, and I liked how you saw the tornadoes, but just I wasn't a big fan of the movie.
Okay, I get it. Mommy, what are you giving this movie?
I'm going to give this movie a thumbs up.
Wow.
It may not be Oscar worthy or anything like that, but I think it is entertaining. I never get bored watching this movie. It has serious moments. It has overcoming moments. It has laughs, though, along the way. So there's still positivity in it. And it's got a good message for both people getting over grief, someone with a vision or a dream. Like, there's just so many things that you could draw from this for it simply being a movie about twisters.
Okay.
And I think that makes it good. What about you, Daddy? What are you giving it?
I'm going thumbs middle on this. A high thumbs middle.
Okay.
I do like this movie, especially just considering, how much I don't like the first film.
Yeah.
So this helps it a lot of me saying, actually, this movie could have been just called something completely different. The only tie-in that it has is Dorothy, and it really wasn't that important.
Should have been called the Tornado Wranglers.
Tornado Wranglers. Tornadoes.
Tornaders. No. Twists.
Twists. Yeah. But no, I'm going thumbs middle. Higher thumbs middle on this. I enjoyed it. I like Glen Powell, so, I'm going to go higher for him. But, yeah, thumbs middle. And if any of you would like to add Twisters to your movie night list, it is currently streaming on Prime Video or available to rent or buy across platforms.
And after watching, let us know if you give it thumbs up, thumbs middle, or thumbs down.
And when you want to let us know what you think about the movie, please find us on social media. We like to post pictures of us on our movie nights, letting you know what snacks and sweets we're eating. It's a fun place to hang out.
Our Facebook is It's Movie Night, and our Instagram is It's Movie Night Pod. Thank you for listening. Join us next week for another movie night. Bye.